I'm joined now by Scotia Capital's Chief Currency Strategist, Camilla Sutton, to find out some of her latest projections for some of the most traded currency pairs. So Camilla, let's start with the US dollar, Canadian dollar. What are your short, mid and long-term forecasts for this pair?
Well, I think as risk aversion remains elevated and uncertainty still high, the risk for dollar Canada is it still moves higher in the very near term, potentially heading as high as 108 in the near term. However, I think as we get into year-end, it's a different story, as we should see some stability coming out of Europe, at least with an attempt of a solution, or at least a temporary solution, as well as some stability in risk aversion generally, and that should see dollar Canada retrace some of its gains and move back lower. As we get into the 6 to 12 month, I think it's more a story of fundamentals, and the fundamentals for Canada being a relatively strong sovereign, having a commodity exposure and some obvious dependence on what transpires in China in terms of those commodity prices, as well as a central bank that is likely to hike rates sooner than the U.S. Fed. I think all of that combines to create a story for the Canadian dollar that is still somewhat favorable, though fairly moderate in terms of strength, and likely moving back towards parity.
What kind of range do you see the dollar-yen trading in over the next year?
Well, the stability over the last 2 months has been somewhat surprising. Overall, in all, our forecast call for dollar-yen to still be in the lower part of its range in the very near term. However, as we get into year-end, to slowly drift higher, and then that trend to continue next year, but fairly moderate. Still a very strong yen in terms of historical levels, closing this year at 80 and next year at 85.
And finally, let's end with another one of our traders' favourite pairs, the euro-dollar. Where do you see this pair by year's end and into next year?
I think the near-term pressure, and certainly the technicals are telling us we still have more downside, and a test of 130 is likely within the cards in the very, very near term. I think that as we get into year-end, that trend does reverse, and that we do see some retracement of losses, really as European authorities attempt to provide a solution. But I think in the near term, it's certainly one where there's a tremendous amount of risk, and the likely path is still downside from current levels.
Thank you very much for that, Camilla. As always, there's plenty to check out on Dukascopy TV today, including exclusive interviews with experts on the UK economy and a press review to keep you updated. Goodbye for now.